Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. I totally agree with the viewpoint of my brother that we as lay people do not have the time to research in religion and find out each and every small thing in the religion and find out where this ruling is based in what hadith. We do not have the time, and secondly, we do not have the credentials. We are not learned in the field of religion, and that is why the brother argues that we should do taqleed. Now let me elaborate what the word taqleed means. Taqleed in the Islamic perspective means to follow blindly. So a follower of the Hanafi school of thought will follow the Hanafi school of thought blindly without asking for proof. But that is contradictory to what Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said. Since I am talking about the Hanafi madhab, let me just quote to you some of the things which Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said. And I quote, when a hadith is found to be sahih, then that is my mother. Here Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah is stressing on 2 points. First, that he acknowledges that after giving a verdict, there is a possibility that some person in the future date will find a hadith which is sahih. This leads us to the other conclusion that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah did not have all the sahih hadith compiled with him when he was giving the ruling or the fatwa. And that is why he said, whenever that you find a sahih hadith, that is my mother. Further, if you read, and I quote, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said, when I say something contradicting the book of Allah the Exalted or what is narrated from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then ignore my saying. Now the very fact that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah is giving the possibility that that some of his rulings would be against the Quran and Sunnah is because all of the hadith were not compiled at the time of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. Let me give you a layman's example. In today's day, we do not have the time to research religion and find out each and everything. Even in this time and age, there are religious scholars who give various fatwas on the day-to-day activities that we face in our daily lives. For example, there is a sheikh called, for example, Sheikh Abdul Rahman. So you listen to his verdicts and you hear what he says. So you do not have the time, nor do you have the knowledge to research each and every sentence what Sheikh Abdul Rahman has said. So what you do is, in a generalized way, you research and you know that, okay, in a generalized way, what Sheikh Abdul Rahman says is from the Quran and Sunnah. So initially, you research each and everything that he says, and if you find that yes, this person speaks from the Quran and the Sunnah, then whatever else that he says in the future, you just believe in him. That is, you do taqleed. But if, for example, a person comes up to you and says that the ruling which Sheikh Abdul Rahman has given regarding so and so topic is contradicting the Quran and the Sahih Hadith, and you see the ruling and yes, it does contradict the Quran and Sahih Hadith. In spite of that, you are adamant in following the view and opinion of Sheikh Abdul Rahman. You also need to keep in mind that Sheikh Abdul Rahman always says that whenever you find a ruling, whenever you find a Sahih Hadith which is against my ruling, then you discard my ruling. And if you adamantly follow the verdict of Sheikh Abdul Rahman, then brother, you are not actually following Sheikh Abdul Rahman. That is the same case with the people who call themselves Hanafi. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said, whenever you find a ruling, whenever you find my ruling which is against the Quran and Sunnah, then discard my ruling. So all of the rulings of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah which are against the Quran and Sunnah have to be discarded. And it is not me and you who have to do that. The scholars have already done that. So you don't need to complain that you don't have the time. The scholars, alhamdulillah, have already done that. I also need to stress on a few more points, that in Islam, for any deed that you do for sawab, for any deed to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two conditions have to be met. First, that the deed has to be according to the Sharia. Secondly, the deed has to be according to the Sunnah. Now, if a person who is doing a deed and expecting a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for doing that deed, a person comes and proves to him from the Quran and Sunnah that, brother, whatever that you're doing is against the Sharia, and whatever that you're doing is not established from the Sunnah. And in spite of this, the brother, he refuses to act on the Quran and Sunnah, and he continues doing the deed which is in opposition to the Quran and the Sunnah, then there is a danger that his deed will not be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. So I need to make these things very, very clear, that all of the imam, may Allah be pleased with them all, they all said, whenever you find any of our rulings going against the Quran and the Sunnah, you take the Quran and Sunnah and discard our rulings. So my sincere request and advice to all my Muslim brothers and sisters all over the world is that follow whatever madhab or school of thought you want to, if you find convenient. But whenever you find anything which the scholar or the imam has said contrasting or contradicting the Quran and Sahih Hadith, Quran and the Sunnah, then you take what the Quran and Sunnah says, because that's what the four imams, may Allah be pleased with them all, wanted us to do. Peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.